Hi. Ooh, wait. Girl. Ugh. Oh my. Oh my God. Hi. Hi, I'm Holliday, and this is Looking into Evil and Candles. I will be putting together candles and talking about a true crime story. Please be patient with me, y'all. This is my first time making candles, and I think I brought the wrong glass because it says don't put hot liquids in it. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, I don't die. Today's story will be about the Gainesville Ripper, the person who inspired the movie Scream. And Scream is actually about to release a new movie. So, what are the odds, right? What are the odds? The man we are talking about, his name is Danny Rolling. Danny was born May 26, 1954. Danny was born in Shreveport, Louisiana. His parents are Claudette and James Rolling. His father was a cop who didn't want children, and he was very abusive to his wife and children. Actually, the beatings for Danny started once he hit one because he wasn't crawling right. He was crawling crooked and his father didn't like it. But the beatings didn't start getting worse until his mother had his brother, Kevin. And his father, as I said before, wasn't even happy about that. After some time, Danny's mother, Claudia tried to escape many of times from her abusive husband, Danny's father, but for some reason, each time she ended up always coming back. Sadly, please don't judge her. We don't know how it is to be in a situation where somebody is abusing you and you just don't know a way out. Even if you leave and you come back, we let's just not judge. Let's not judge here, people. Let's just not judge. Ooh, these are dried rose petals that I picked up. I know it probably won't go right in the wax, but why not? Let's be wild. Danny's mother went through a lot. Honestly, she started to have a nervous breakdown soon after she found out Danny was failing in school. It started to really wear her down to take care of the kids and to be abused at home. Eventually, she was taken to a mental hospital for trying to commit suicide by slitting her wrist. This, in turn, made Danny very upset. It made him mentally unstable for a while. He did not seek help. The only help that he actually did get was from school, and it was from his counselor saying that he had an inferior complex with basically some explosive behavior and he could not handle his compulses. By age 11, Danny started to actually pick up music to try to cope with all the abuse that was going on in the home. He started playing guitar and he started singing hymn-like songs to calm him down, to give him some closure, to give him a different world to be in instead of living in this world where he's being abused constantly. But the hymns and the guitar aren't the only thing that helped Danny cope. He also picked up drugs and alcohol. And this was around age 11. Really early. Really early to be picking up drugs and alcohol because, damn. I understand life truly hard, and this is how he had to cope. This is kind of the beginning of where we see Danny starting to go because he does do some awful crimes further down the line. He starts to peep into the window of his neighbor's daughter, and we know what happens next. Danny gets caught. His father is told, and his father honestly beats the hell out of him. And this does not help Danny get better or move forward in any way. Danny did try to work. Actually, he tried to keep a job, but he just couldn't. So he thought, maybe the military could help him. Pray for us, y'all. Pour it in slowly. Oh my God. Okay, one candle. One candle is not so far. Yay. So back to Danny. Danny, he decided to listen to the military. The Navy did not accept him. So he ended up going into the Air Force, and the Air Force accepted him. But time went on, and Danny just didn't like the military, let's be honest. So after a while of being in the military, he quit and he started doing odd jobs and petty crime. He started robbing houses, robbing gas stations, just to have money and to get by. Even as all this is going on, Danny actually does try to have a normal life. He actually ends up getting married. He is married for about 4 years, but as we know, is that the cycle of abuse continued. Danny actually started abusing his wife, and after 4 years, she couldn't take it, so she ended up divorcing Danny. And this honestly made Danny very unstable as well. It seems like a lot of things made Danny unstable, but this is just going down the line before he starts to do a little murder. The divorce only truly went forward is because Danny threatened his wife that he would kill her. And honestly, Danny is 6'2". He can overpower somebody. He's a big boy. After the divorce from his wife, he ends up raping a woman that looks very similar to his wife. And it's because he's just angry and very impulsive. And as his counselor said back when he was younger, he can't handle these impulses, so he has to act on them. Some time goes by, and Danny actually ends up killing a woman in a car accident. And they say that even that, him doing that, taking a life that he didn't want to take, really pushed him over the edge. I guess the raping and the robbing and the stealing didn't push him over the edge, but this did, you know? He went back to, again, committing a series of petty crimes, robbery in Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and in Georgia. But at this time is when he is committing these crimes of robbing. 3 bodies actually are found in a house. A woman and her father and her nephew are found murdered, stabbed to death. The woman was violently raped and stabbed. The father was shot and stabbed, and I'm not sure how they killed the nephew, which is very sad. And this all happened around the time when Danny lost his job, started doing petty crimes, and started robbing. So it wasn't like it was a coincidence, because remember, he robbed houses. So it was like, oh shit, they're home. Let me just kill 3 people. And I want y'all to know, after you kill 3 people, you are, by the FBI standards, you are labeled as a serial killer. So after this this incident, he just skyrockets into killing about 4 to 5 more people. No, 5 more people. He actually ends up going back to his father's house and attacking his father. He shoots his father not once but twice. His father ends up living. He loses an eye and an ear. I'm just surprised that the man lived. I understand why Danny probably went and thought that he had to kill his father. But after this, because Danny is assuming that his father is dead, he breaks into a house. He steals somebody's identification, and he goes and moves to Florida. And his name now is Michael Kennedy Jr., and this is somebody else's identity. And once he has somebody else's identity, this is where Danny becomes the Gainesville Ripper. One night, 2 freshmen at Florida State University come home to a welcome party of Danny. Danny ends up overpowering both of the women. He bounds their hands and mouths with duct tape. He brings in some products and he starts to murder them. He actually makes one of the girls do forced sexual acts on him, and then he ends up raping her, and then he moves on to her friend, her roommate, and he rapes and murders her as well. He murders them via stabbing and slitting their throats. He I'm sorry, this is graphic. I should have put a warning up, so I'll put it up here. Warning. He cuts off their nipples and he takes some of them as a souvenir, and he ends up having sex with their bodies after they are deceased. So necrophilia. Put that on his list of things that he's just doing. It gets kind of wild because he doesn't do this just to them. He ends up doing it to another woman 2 miles away on a different date. It goes a similar route. She comes home. Danny ends up overpowering her. He rapes, mutilates, and cuts off her nipples as well and places them right beside her. But he does not stop here. He ends up cutting her head off. He props her body up as if it's sitting up, and then he takes her head and put it on a bookshelf. Now, if you're into true crime like me, this sounds familiar, doesn't it? This is not a story that we've done before, but it sounds familiar. Ed Kemper, who we've talked about before a little bit in another video, he actually did this to his mother. He cut her head off and put it on the mantle. Like, Jesus. So, this is not anything new. After Danny ends up murdering this woman, he goes forward, lays low a little bit, and the University of Florida actually has to take a little action. So now they have to start putting out information about how to stay safe and how to be protected. They tell people to stay in groups. They say don't go anywhere alone, morning or night or afternoon. Actually, students start to sleep together in groups and somebody stays watch. And actually, at one point, they actually cancel class for a week straight, and 700 students actually end up not coming back to the university and try to take classes either online or remotely at home because they're just terrified that they're going to end up like the 3 women that have already been murdered at this time. So it's very hard for them to want to go back to school knowing that there's this guy out here killing college students. And again, all these murders happen, I'll say, about 2 miles away from each other. Since they happen 2 miles away from each other, the police are involved. But the police can't pin any of this on Danny because, as I said before, his father is a police officer. His father, even though he abused him, he still taught Danny the ropes of how to bleed cop and how to cover things up so he doesn't get caught whenever he does anything bad. So remember when I talked about cleaning solutions or solvents that he brought with him to the murders? He would use these solvents to clean up the bodies of any sexual leftovers that he left after he did what he did, and he would take the duct tape from his victims and put it in dumpsters. So then, the duct tape is dirty and everything. They can't get a fingerprint off of it because anybody could have touched it. So now it's contaminated evidence. So they really can't pin it on him. And even though they're trying, they really can't. Police have to start digging even harder. These are actually Danny's last victims. August 27th, he kills a man and a woman who are attendees of University of Florida. He sneaks into their house while they're sleeping. He kills the young man immediately while he's sleeping, and he rapes and kills the woman in the next room. He doesn't get a chance to mutilate the bodies, and police are seeing that he didn't get a chance because either he didn't have time or somebody was about to interrupt him. That they feel like this gives them a little bit of leeway to figure out like where is he going to hit next. Honestly, after these 2 murders, the beginning of the end for Danny. Danny, after these 2 murders, he ends up robbing and stealing from gas stations, and he gets into a high-speed chase with the police. Mind you, the police don't even know that he's a Gainesville Ripper. So he gets to a high-speed chase. They end up pursuing him and getting him, and they arrest him. He gets charged, and he is put in prison. But, anytime you go to prison or you're convicted, they take your fingerprints and DNA. Come to find out, Danny actually messed up and left his DNA at the crime scene of when a woman, her father, and her nephew was killed. They took his DNA and they were able to find a match, and it was enough of a match to charge him with their murders. And once they brought all this evidence to Danny, he folded, y'all. When I say folded on himself. He gave up every detail, every incident, every situation that he did for the murders of these 5 college students. He gave it all up. Like, when I say he gave it all up, from where he was, what he did, how he did it, where he did it, where he dumped the evidence, everything. And this honestly helps the police and the prosecutors convict him of these 5 murders, right? And after his trial and everything, Danny is sentenced to death. Can't say that I don't agree. Go with God. Let's pour this in, and then we'll talk about the rest about Danny's execution and what he had for his last meal. Danny is executed on October 25th, 2006, so really not that long ago. The capacity of the viewing room was overfilled. There were 47 people there to see him actually die. What Danny ends up doing for his last words is that he ends up singing a hymn-like song to himself that he used to play when he was younger, I'm assuming to help him cope. And I have to read this from the page because this is what Danny's last meal was. His last meal was lobster tail with butter, butterfly shrimp with cocktail sauce, baked potato with sour cream and butter. He had a strawberry cheesecake for dessert, and for his drink, he had sweet tea. This, as I said in the beginning, is what inspired the movie Scream. Kevin Williamson used the Gainesville Ripper to actually get inspiration on the movie Scream. The movie Scream follows high school students, but we all know that it was surrounded by actually college students. And this is where Scream actually becomes a cult classic in the horror industry. It becomes something big, bigger than what he thought. And today, Kevin Williams is now doing a series on TV called The Following. And let's be honest, the University of Florida actually does end up making morals and memorials about the 5 students that were murdered violently by Danny. They plant 5 trees for each victim, and they also have their names painted around the school and telling people never to forget, to understand that this was something horrific that happened and we're not going to hide it. We're going to let people understand that we knew it happened and these people are special. They are not just victims. We are done. I know everything looks very freaking messy, but this has the heart, and this one is almost done. Now, as you can see, we have 2 complete candles. And that is our story for this week. And these are our candles that we made. I'm pretty sure I'll have them lit in next week's video so you can see them, And remember, I got all this stuff from Michael's in their candle section. I will put a link below to where you can get them. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's story. I will see you guys next week. Hopefully we have a craft. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys hopefully next week. Bye.
Ever since the day that you went away.